we are commemorating the 50th anniversary of JOCV in Zambia. Even though the JOCV program has been implemented for many decades, activities of volunteers are not well known by some sections of the Zambian community. The people of Japan have been very passionate, helping the less privileged communities in the world. Zambia is one of the beneficiaries of aid from Japan through the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. We spoke to the chief representative, Kazuhiko Tokohashi, who worked in Zambia as a young volunteer 30 years ago.
It is a great honor and privilege to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Japan Overseas Cooperation Volunteers, popularly known
Coming to you live from Lusaka, Zambia, this is Muvi TV Primetime News. The headlines: Disability community applauds President HH over Christine Chama's appointment. Governance activist calls for the abolishment of the Ministry of Information. Speaker of National Assembly nullifies Chisangano's suspension on Malanji. Solwezi civic leader calls for punitive action against urine vendors. Local Government Service Commission keen to uproot bad seeds from the councils. Saboy Imboela calls for sober politics for the betterment of Zambia. Now with the details, I'm Virginia Chilongo. Bonshot Livingto has applauded President Hakainde Hichilema for appointing Christine Chama as Human Rights Commissioner. Organization's President Ntalasha Chisha says the inclusion of women and people living with disabilities in key governance positions is critical in the incorporation of minority groups and building stable democracies. Mr. Chisha says the decision by the President to appoint Ms. Chama is fundamental towards fighting discrimination and supporting inclusiveness. He adds the appointment of Ms. Chama demonstrates the President's support to the disability movement. Zambian Aquaculture Cooperative Society, ZACOSO, Board Chairman Collins Kachaka has bemoaned the lack of finance tailored for the aquaculture sector. Dr. Kachaka says fish farming in Zambia has huge potential given the ability of water in the country, but financing remains a challenge. Speaking during the cooperative annual general meeting in Lusaka, Dr. Kachaka appealed to banks and other financial agencies to have funding suited to aquaculture production circles.
Zambia Aquaculture Cooperative Society ZACOSO has called for enhanced collaboration between government and small-scale fish farmers in the country. ZACOSO Board Chairperson Collins Kachaka says working with small-scale farmers is key in growing the fish farming sector in the country.
On the funding, a number of funders we here have lost money, including government. Those who received the funds, whom we don't know, we as a cooperative, have failed to repay back the money. The challenge is that the funders are not working with us as a cooperative on the ground. So as it is in Kenya, in Rwanda, in Seychelles, in Egypt, the governments there are working with the cooperatives because the cooperatives own the farmers. They know who the farmers are. And therefore we urge all funders, both in the government and private sector, to be able to work with us as a cooperative, as a guarantor. We will supervise our members because we know who they are. In that way, it will be easier to have the money repaid back. The cooperative will be able to monitor the farmers, to help them on the ground, to ensure that their fish grows. In so doing, the farmers will be able to sell the fish and recover the money and be able to repay the money.
Speaking during the cooperative's annual general meeting in Lusaka, Dr. Kachaka has also bemoaned the lack of private sector funding to the sector.
We need cheap finance. It has become almost impossible to access finance in agriculture in Zambia, even when there is money, both the government and in the private sector. The challenges we face as fish farmers in this regard is in terms of the banks. You go and borrow money today, they want you to begin the repayment immediately. And that becomes a challenge because it means the money that we have gotten from them is again the same money we start to paying back. We need to have banks and financial institutions who understand the cycle of fish farming so that they fit in the cycle. We want a situation where we are able to pay back in a year only twice because our cycle is 6 months.
During the event, members of the cooperative and members of the general public also witnessed a fish farming harvest, a testament of how viable this sector is. With the current fish deficit standing at about 140,000, reporting for Muvi TV News, I'm Afias Kaptula in Lusaka.
Tumvanani Ward Councillor Savuye Kayumba has advised the Solwezi Municipal Council to shut down shops that are selling expired products such as foodstuffs to the general public. Mr. Kayumbo says all shops found wanting must be closed immediately in order to set an example to would-be offenders. He has also urged the local authorities' health department to conduct regular inspections. Meanwhile, Solwezi Municipal Council Public Health Director Wamunyima Mumali says the council has been engaging shops found selling expired foods to customers.
I would tell that if such people, because they sell those food, they're even aware that this food is expired. So when our public consumes the food, at the end of the day, it gets cancer, sometimes these people die. So if those people are finding them like that, don't even hesitate to give them warnings. Just close their shops because they're killing our people. There is no medicine if somebody has already died. You can't wonder, no, don't die today because there's nothing like that. So you have to be closing their shops.
There are some who voluntarily surrender their item when they are expired. They report to us that their item has been expired and they need to dispose of. So for those, we know they've already reported to our state because they normally put aside those which are expired and they call us to dispose. But for those we find for the first time, we give the warning. The second time, now we take legal action according to food safety. Second, we warn them. The first is warning that next time if they found again selling and expired food, that means we take legal action, taking them to court. That's the action we take.
Human Resource and Qualifications Audit that commenced on Monday, 28 March 2022, has gained momentum with the newly appointed local authorities showing keen interest to end corruption. The Local Government Service Commission, LGSC, on Monday commenced a robust Human Resource and Qualifications Audit aimed at establishing whether people occupying council offices in grades 1, 2 and 3 salary scale had the requisite qualifications, and scores of Lusaka City Council employees Tuesday morning, 29th March 2022, turned out in large numbers at Nakatindi Hall to submit their academic qualifications. Local Government Commission Deputy Chairperson Brian Ndumba told journalists that the ongoing audit would ensure that the right people were in the right offices and that the exercise would ensure that promotions were on merit. He has charged that all LCC employees are required to resubmit certified academic qualifications from the Ministry of Education. He also says among the things that the audit aims to achieve is to establish whether the promotions in the rank and file of the council were on merit, and will also seek to establish when each council employee was employed and through which channel.
Like I said yesterday, we are starting today, and we have very good cooperation from the council management, in fact the town clerk and his management team, for the cooperation that we have received. We are starting today, looking at we are most interested to deal with Division 1, the film 2 and the film 3. We just want to ask if they could just started and we hope relating their files, they are coming with their documents, certified with what is in the payroll, what is the establishment type. Then we know we are dealing with that. We have asked them to come with certified documents. And if you ask for that people qualified but not to understand why a person that has a qualification is stagnantly in the same position for the last 5-6 years. So after this assessment, it will give us a tone of which officers have a stage where they're supposed, a class, a division where they're supposed to be. At least give them a promotion once we have seen the performance appraisal. Thank you.
Take a break.
Istana ya Afrika ya kubende chalo akamwana kanono nomsepela kwikala chapamo kuribe kumunzi kuribe mutauni kumatero aliyense afunika.
The Zambia Statistics Agency will this year conduct the census across the country. The census aims to count people in households, rural and urban, hospitals, military, police and correctional facilities. This numbering will extend to hotels, farms, as well as high-density areas with different families sharing a house and those in transitory locations. Every person in the country matters and should be counted because the census will benefit all, from migrants, refugees and street children, homeless people, the young and the old people, as well as persons with disabilities. Everyone counts. This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency.
So here's how to pay using Airtel Money. Ensure your decoder is turned on and tuned to channel 1. Dial *778#, then select the option that says Make Payment. Select Pay TV, then select Muvi TV. Enter the 12-digit smart card number, then enter the amount you wish to pay. Enter the Muvi TV account number, omitting the dash before the last digit. Then select the amount you wish to pay.
For inquiries, call customer care on 0764 250055 or 0764 250052 or 0978 732 411 or 0978 732 412.
We are delighted to add Lubumbashi and Goma to our network. Welcome aboard Rwandair, Africa's safest airline that will connect you to more than 24 destinations throughout the network.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
It went like this. Kafawandi Teti mufilwe Kafawandi Teti mufilwe. I know that rings a very, very loud bell. Yes, Muvi TV is back with the Kids Star Show right here on your channel of choice. Oh well, do you have kids that have what it takes to be part of the show? Do you have kids, little brothers, little sisters, little nephews, little cousins, all those children that you have at home who are willing to showcase their talent? Oh well, Muvi TV Studios will be doing it right here on the 2nd and 3rd of April from 14 to 16 hours, which is just an audition call. So if you have children who are aged 6 to 12, please do bring them to the Muvi TV Studios on the 2nd and on the 3rd of April. Time is 14 to 16 hours. Well, I'll be waiting to come and hear those little bambinos sing, rap and showcase their talents to me. Hey, let's do this. We'll see you. Welcome back. Dr. Kachaka has appealed to the New Dawn government to actualize value-added tax and excise duty exemption on the importation of fish farming materials. He says government introduced tax exemption on fish farming materials, but it has just remained on paper as fish farmers do not have any information on how to benefit from the initiative.
The issue of duty and VAT on importation. We have heard that there is a duty waiver, on aquaculture materials. The challenge we have is we don't know who to see to go and register for the duty waiver to import materials in the country as small-scale farmers. We have tried to go to the ministry. We are told we should go at ZRA. We go at ZRA, we are told to go to Ministry of Finance. The question is, where should we go? Therefore, we appeal to the government to make the process easier, smooth, and clear, so that we as fish farmers should be able to import materials without paying the duty. The duty waiver for now is just on paper because we are paying heavy duty and VAT.
The Department of National Parks and Wildlife Director, Chuma Simkonda, says there is need to preserve wildlife by vigorously fighting poaching, which continues to be a threat to nature. Speaking at the Kavango Zambezi Trans-Frontier Conservation Area, CASA Secretariat Workshop on Enhanced Cooperation and Support for Combating Wildlife Crime in the CASA region in Livingston, Mr. Simkonda explains that it is important to ensure safety of wildlife owing to economic contribution it brings to the country. Mr. Simkonda notes countries in the CASA region should work towards coming up with strategies of how wildlife poaching can be combated with the seriousness for sake conservation of animals in Africa. And speaking at the same event, Angela Hogg, who is USAID Regional Environment Education and Democracy Director, observes the need to have partners in the fight to combat wildlife through partnership and information sharing on best practices to end the scourge.
Continues to play a vital role in preservation of nature has become a thing of concern for Kavango Zambezi Trans-Frontier Conservation Area with regards to cases of poaching. Department of National Parks and Wildlife Chuma Simkonda noted that it has become necessary to alleviate the immense adverse effects of poaching. Speaking at the Kavango Zambezi Trans-Frontier Conservation Area CASA Secretariat Workshop in Livingston, Mr. Simkonda said the workshop is aimed at looking into challenges that affect the aim of combating wildlife.
And one of the issues identified was poaching and law enforcement, and the challenges caused by movement of criminals across borders. This workshop addresses a key priority on transboundary coordination and cooperation. CASA is home to some of the globally significant wildlife species. Illegal wildlife trade and wildlife crimes are a significant challenge. Charismatic species like the African elephant, the lion, and many others such as pangolin risk being poached to extinction.
And United States for International Development Regional Environment, Education and Democracy Director Angela Hogg was pleased to note that there have been no black rhino poaching incidents in the activity landscape since 2020. She also noted that the United States government remains committed to tackling transnational crimes.
Cooperate across borders to stop the scourge. And it's what brings us together here today. For the past 5 years, USAID has supported a portfolio of combating wildlife crime activities designed to reduce poaching and the goal of the workshop is to facilitate these discussions, to identify priority areas that need additional resources in order to tackle wildlife and forest crimes effectively.
It is not possible to to find solutions to this challenge of wildlife crime in isolation. How can we work better together? I think that's the challenge we face, because we should really move away from the status quo of just thinking that wildlife crimes can only be tackled by the wildlife sector alone. No, we need the banking institutions or financial institutions, for example. We need customs and immigration.
It is the hope of the conservation to employ new strategies and different approaches to tackle the never-ending issue of poaching in the country. Prudence Mutelo reporting for Muvi TV News in Livingston.
A senior government official in the Ministry of Agriculture says the implementation of Farmer Input Support Program FISIP for the 2021-2022 farming season is progressing well in Northwestern Province. Senior Marketing Development Officer Dennis Munachusa disclosed that the province is on target with expected impressive harvest. Mr. Munachusa says was speaking in an interview with NAIS after concluding monitoring the districts, and one of the FISIP beneficiaries in Manyinga district, James Chikuta, thanked government for delivering the inputs on time. More than 62,000 farmers have benefited from the FISIP program for 2021-2022 farming season in Northwestern Province. Now, a delegation from the Angolan Office of the Public Protector is in the country to explore areas of collaboration with their Zambian counterparts that will enhance public service delivery in the two countries. Angola Public Protector Andonia Flobela Rocha Arujo says Zambia has hosted a large number of Angolans whose refugee status came to an end, and therefore improvement in public service delivery will ultimately benefit the former refugees, many of whom want to formalize their residence in Zambia. Ms. Aruja says similarly, Zambians living in Angola will also derive benefits from that country's government as they seek public services offered by the government. Ms. Aruja was speaking in an interview at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport upon her arrival from Angola. Now, Zambia's public protector, Caroline Sonkoni, says although the Zambian office is older than that of Angola, her office can still draw lessons from the relatively new ombudsman institutions. Ms. Sokoni pointed out that recently established public protector institutions are more aggressive and come with new ideas in ensuring better public service delivery from state institutions. We now go to the picture of the day.
Go, can you go? We might even put it on. Don't go
We take a break.
Istana ya Afrika ya kupende chalo akamwana kanono nomsepela kwikala chapamo kuribe kumunzi kuribe mutauni kumatero aliyenze afunika.
The Zambia Statistics Agency will this year conduct the census across the country. The census aims to count people in households, rural and urban, hospitals, military, police and correctional facilities. This numbering will extend to hotels, from migrants, refugees and street children, homeless people, the young.
Airline that will connect you to more than 24 destinations throughout the
So here's how to pay using Airtel Money. Select Pay TV, then select Muvi TV. Enter the 12-digit smart card number, then enter the amount you wish to pay. Enter the Muvi TV account number omitting the dash before the last digit. Then select the amount you wish to pay.
For inquiries, call customer care on 0764 250055 or 0764 250052 or 0978 732 411 or 0978 732 412.
Back, we continue with the news. Governance activist Brebna Changala has called on President Hakainde Hichilema to fire Information and Media Minister Chushi Kasanda and Director Spokesperson Tabo Kawana for alleged failure to carry out their duties. Mr. Changala says President Hichilema should also consider abolishing the Ministry of Information, which he feels is currently merely playing a propaganda role for the government as opposed to serving the country. Mr. Changala says there is more confusion of ministry's spokesperson and speaking out more than the minister. Mr. Changala says the Ministry of Information is an office which should only be found in territorial regimes where there is dictatorship. He says the president should quickly fire Chushi Kasanda and immediately abolish the ministry. We seem not to have that story ready. Moving on. Did not participate in the protest that the suspension of the former National Assembly to have her ruling on the matter amended. This means the PF now has 26 MPs currently sitting in the House from the total of 60.
Honorable members, the House will recall that on Wednesday, 23rd March 2022, I rendered a ruling by which the House suspended 5 members of Parliament from the Patriotic Front Party who participated in the protest on Tuesday, 30th November 2021. It has come to my attention after a thorough review of the proceedings of the House on Tuesday, 30th November 2022, that Honorable J. Malanje, Member of Parliament for Kwacha Parliamentary constituency, did not participate in the protest. I wish to remind the House that all the Patriotic Front members of Parliament that were identified to have participated in the protest were written to individually to exculpate themselves. This included Mr. Malanje, MP. The leader of opposition responded to the charge letters through a single letter on behalf of all the Patriotic Front members. However, Patriotic Front members, namely Ms. J. Nyemba, MP, and Dr. C. Chirufya, MP, responded individually to indicate that they did not participate in the protest. Upon a review of the video footage, it was proved that indeed these 2 Patriotic Front members did not Malanje to respond to the charge letter so as to indicate in his non-participation in the protest, as was the case with Ms. J. Nyemba, MP, and Dr. C. Chirufya, MP. Mr. Malanje, MP's failure to respond to the charge letter, therefore, led to the inevitable conclusion that he had participated in the protest. This notwithstanding, the inclusion of Mr. J. Malanje, MP's name to the list of the suspended members of Parliament is deeply regretted, and I apologize for that anomaly. The ruling can be corrected. In view of this, I hereby amend my ruling to participate in the protest by PF members on Tuesday, 30th November 2021.
Patriotic Front PF member of the Central Committee in charge of Information and Publicity, Brother Nakachinda, the morning presented him questioning before the Committee of Legal and Privileges at Parliament. Mr. Nakachinda, who was accompanied by his lawyer, told was supposed to appear before the Committee on Privileges for what he termed as unfounded reasons for appearing before the panel, but alleges the move is for the National Assembly over some complaint relating to his criticism of the Speaker's decision, but the hearing could not take off after they were informed that the committee is not sitting today, hence another date will be communicated. He adds that by stating an argument, the National Assembly is not a court that is immune to criticism, hence it must not become militant in a democratic state where people are free to discuss national affairs. The Committee on Privilege
is criticism of the Speaker's decision. We are informed that the committee will not sit, and as a result, a new date will be issued. We reiterate the fact that Parliament is not above reproach, and this National Assembly and all its members, including its leaders, they should not think that they cannot be criticized, and they should stop scaring members of the public. The right to have a say in the governance of this issue. This is the so the fact that you mention about Parliament should not result in you being summoned or fearing to go to prison.
Freedoms, and among them, especially the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution, confers on citizens the right of expression, the right of assembly and association. So we can't have a Parliament confer those rights and at the same time want to take them away. So, like Council has said, we will come again because it looks like there's been an insistence for us to come and appear before the previous committee, even when we're private citizens. I'm no longer a member of this House, and therefore I'm not amenable to standing orders or indeed any of those rules they are trying to use to, impose on me some inquiry to which is basically like a court process where you are being interrogated or is it prosecuted, and at the end of the day there is expectation that there could be a
National Democratic Congress NDC faction leader Saboy Imboela has charged most of the challenges President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND government is facing today is as a result of its own deeds at the time they were in the opposition. Ms. Imboela says UPND leaders did not exhibit objectivity in their quest to offer criticism at the time it was in opposition, but says they were always on the path of condemning everything which the Patriotic Front PF government was doing. She adds that the new Dawn administration has instead put itself in arms as the result of the condemnation on a number of developmental projects the previous regime was doing. Ms. Imboela says criticism is important in democratic states like Zambia, but says leaders of the opposition must appreciate where it is due.
For me, those are UPND kind of politics. Not that for me, the full sentence I've put across is that I will not engage in UPND kind of politics. You get the point? Where you criticize everything, you get the point? And you want other people to fail so that you make a name and you form government. I won't do that. If it means us praising them, where they do right means that we won't form government, so be it. Because if they're doing the right thing, then why change government? You get the point? The level we should reach now as Zambians is to ensure that whatever goes right, we applaud. Whatever goes wrong, we don't. Because trust me, even if we were to form government as NDC, I would want Zambia to be found at a better place. Are you getting the point? Right. I would be very happy if the UPND maybe moves us from a third world nation to a second, even a first world nation. You get the point? That would be very good. Because even when you come into power now as another political party, you'll be at a certain level. So now you take the country from that level to another level. Not whereby your friends fail. By the time you're coming to take over, it's a mess. Look at the UPND themselves. Not that some of the things, I blame them for certain messes that they I would say that the UPND was a bad opposition political party. Because they could never tell their friends to say, hey, you're doing right, can you do that? Hey, you're doing wrong, can you do that? Because as a government in waiting, you need to know what is good for the country. Okay? So what is good for the country, support it. Okay? What is good for the country, support it. That way, when you form government yourself, it will be very easy. You have seen that some of the things they are finding it very, very difficult because when they're in opposition, these are the things that they were talking against. We shall not do this, we shall not do that. Look at even the issue of the middleman that I talked about earlier on. It's something that they kept on saying it was not good, it was not this, it was not that. The issue of the drugs, honeybee, at some point started thinking, okay, so were those drugs defective? Because they got the same drug, convinced us that they were fake drugs, and they distributed. You know, people made noise about it now. They had to find a visual lamp to do that. So that's what they've been doing. Look at even the Ministry of Health again. The issue of the employment and everything. When something leaks, they normally find this, I can fire some.
We are delighted to add Lubumbashi and Goma to our network. Welcome aboard Rwanda Network.
As COVID-19 cases keep rising, many business entities are affected and their revenue keeps going down. But together, we can fight COVID-19. Rumpi Enterprises provides you and your organization the safety you require in these hard times of the COVID-19 pandemic by using effective disinfectants procedures such as knockdown and residual disinfecting that helps prevent and get rid of COVID-19. We do knockdown and residual disinfecting procedures for homes, offices, hospitals, churches. 0955 767835 or 0955 992230, or come to the third floor, room 3, Tazara House, corner of Dedan Kimati and Independence Avenue. Follow us on Facebook, Rumpi Enterprises Limited. Always remember to observe the COVID-19 guidelines. Mask up, sanitize, social distancing, and staying.
The ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, two countries which are the world's biggest grain and energy exporters. Wheat prices have doubled since the beginning of the war, with a bushel of the product selling as high as 13.48 in some countries. Congo brings us this report. Kenya's catering industry is grappling with soaring food and commodity prices as the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, two of the world, even face shortages if the Russia-Ukraine factors such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine crisis are making the situation worse. Ahmed Hassan, a cafe owner in the Kenyan capital city, Nairobi.
Industry. So any small change in your buying costs, you end up making losses. It eats into your profits.
Ahmed noted that cooking oil and gas are key commodities in his trade, and the rise in their prices is having a direct impact on his business.
We really suffered for the last 1 year during the COVID period. After that, the spending power of the customer is very low, so we no longer get the numbers that we used to get. Sales volumes are very low. So now that you get increase in your materials, it just becomes a very difficult situation to survive in.
According to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, Russia is the world's largest exporter of wheat and Ukraine is the fifth largest. Together, they provide 19% of the world's barley supply, 14% of wheat, and 4% of maize, making up more than 1/3 of global cereal exports. Wheat prices in Kenya have doubled in a span of 2 weeks, with a bushel of the product selling at a high of $13.48 from $7.50 when the war broke out. Countries like Egypt and South Africa, which consume a lot of wheat from Russia and Ukraine, will now be seeking an alternative source market in order to meet the demand for the commodity. Ahmed, Zambia, the situation is no different. Earlier this month, President Hakainde Hichilema told Zambians to weather the rise in commodity prices as a result, like Zambia. With the new Dawn government only being in power for 6 months and inheriting an economy with $12.9 billion external debt, 189.7 billion kwacha domestic debt, and 46.9 billion kwacha domestic arrears. It will prove to be a mammoth task to improve the economy while at the same time cushion it from the massive impacts of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Virginia Chilongo, Muvi TV News. Well, that story brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, we take a look at the headlines. Of the Ministry of Information. Speaker of National Assembly, Local Government Service Commission keen to uproot bad seeds from the councils. Saboy Imboela calls for sober politics.
Here, Ukraine says it has made new gains in repelling Russia's invasion. The town on the outskirts of Kyiv was taken after fierce battles and heavy shelling. President Zelensky
pushed away from Kyiv. However, it is too early to talk about a secure situation. The fighting continues.
Ukrainian soldiers are expecting further attacks and have been preparing to hold their ground. One soldier explained they were able to push back Russian forces 3 to 4 kilometers from their positions.
The snipers worked, when we worked here, the snipers were shooting at us.
More than 60,000 people used to live in Irpin. I just to God for army tanks and artillery were left behind after counterattacks by Ukrainian forces. And in nearby Kharkiv, the war, 160,000 people are trapped without food, water and power. At least 5,000 have been killed. Officials have renewed their appeal for people to be evacuated. Even with peace talks underway, Russian troops continue to bombard defense facilities in Ukraine, and Ukrainian soldiers are determined to stand firm against Russia's
invasion. Has uprooted more than 6 million people in Ukraine and has sent almost 4 million refugees into neighboring countries. Earlier, I spoke to the Secretary General of Amnesty International, Agnes Kalamar, and asked her about the kinds of human rights violations that Amnesty is currently monitoring in Ukraine.
I think the best way of describing the situation is to say that the country is in fire, is on fire. We have been documenting an escalation of human rights and humanitarian law violations, including the indiscriminate or deliberate targeting of civilians infrastructures such as hospitals and schools. We know that in cities under siege, humanitarian corridors are not functioning, trapping people in those cities. We have also
a 3-hour drive from Moscow. Like many Western companies, VW has temporarily halted production in Russia, but there's no trace of panic among employees. Kaluga 2 is the name of the suburb. It's home to
It's like a vacation. We're still getting paid, even though production has stopped. So everything is fine. It's a chance to relax, and soon we'll get back to work.
Food prices have gone up a bit, but it hasn't affected us much. We'll probably feel it more later.
St. Petersburg. The couple likes to travel, though they've never been abroad. Dmitry renovates apartments as a side job to earn extra cash. He and his wife enjoy videos on YouTube. They never watch the news.
Neighbors or peep the supermarket.
In Kaluga, a lot of jobs are generated by the car industry. Aside from Volkswagen, the Volvo truck plant has also suspended production. McDonald's is closed, and Mercedes has stopped exports too. Will the country revert to cars made in Russia?
The problem, they had
so-called special military operation in Ukraine.
It's only when the going gets rough for you that politics matters. As long as everything's all right, why should you be bothered?
This resort is a popular place to escape reality. A steam bath and then a dip in ice-cold water.
Has become the most prominent symbol of Russia's war efforts and is a common sight on
long overdue. Have also chosen it. And instead of pursuing decades of chronic underfunding,
will likely take years.
The largest city, Shanghai, is grappling with a strict two-part lockdown aimed at curtailing the city's worst outbreak of COVID-19 to date. The measures have seen the city's financial district, Pudong, effectively cut off from Shanghai's historic centre, with bridges, tunnels and roads closed. Nigerian officials say several people were killed and many injured in an attack in the city of Kaduna when assailants detonated a bomb on the tracks before opening fire. Coronavirus lockdown leadership. The investigation is ongoing. Violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behaviour at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Earlier, the US Film Academy condemned Smith's behaviour and announced an investigation into the incident. Will Smith hit Chris Rock after the comedian made a joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.